Hey everybody, welcome to Nine-Liner Tattoo. This video's going to be one of the most difficult videos I've ever had to make. I mentioned it a couple, I'll go back a bit though. If you don't want to watch this video, then that's completely fine. There will not be any tattooing in this one. But when I was about 10 or 11 or so, I developed a friendship with a guy called Craig in my village, Craig Snedden. I'll try and keep it short. I mean, I don't know if I have to go that far back, but it's just to give you an idea as to how long we've been friends. 10 years old. I don't know how old one of his sisters is now, but she has kids. You know how it is. I'm pretty sure if you're watching this and you're of a certain age, you've grew up with people who haven't had kids, and now you've got the kid. You know how it works. But Craig's house, I've mentioned before, Jean and Kenny were very, very, very good parents. But they were the place where if you wanted to go and chill, you could go into Craig's room. You could have a drink, you could have a smoky weed. Now, we weren't out burgling, we weren't bad people, we were just chilling. Actually, we spent most of our time watching Cartoon Network, believe it or not. This was not when we were 10, I should reiterate. This is when we were like between, I'd say, 14 and 18, 19, something like that. Maybe 13 to 19, but I don't want to, anyway. I was brought up, not dragged up, just for the reference. But, and, I mean, we were there a lot. We were there a lot. We were just chilling, having a nice time. I mean, much to my hatred, they listened to Oasis all the fucking time. Craig loved techno music. It was not my thing, but over time, it doesn't really matter, does it? If you've got that bond with people, it doesn't really matter. We were both on, we fast forward a couple of years when we were like maybe 17, 18. We were lucky enough to get accepted for a thing called the Princess Trust Volunteers. And a part of that Princess Trust thing was we went away to a place called Whiston Lodge in Biggar. I don't know if it's still, I mean, the building will still be there, but I don't know if it's still what it was. It was basically, you go there for a weekend or an extended weekend, like 7, 8, 6 days or whatever, and there's assault courses, there's rope courses, there's bonding. I think it's kind of for kids who are a little bit ropey, if you like. They don't have everything mapped out completely the way they want to go, and it just helps you. It helps you become an adult with greater ease, I suppose. So it was Friday. It was about 4:30, 5 o'clock, and Craig's mum and dad and his then two sisters were in, I want to say, Turkey, somewhere hot anyway, Spain, Turkey, something like that. And his other sister, Carrie, was on a school trip in France, like a snowboarding, skiing, French Alps type of thing. And it was just Craig and I, and we were going away for this extended, I think it was even going to be a week at this Princess Trust thing at Whiston Lodge. And we were smoking weed, we were having a drink, we were getting ready, if you like, and the door chapped, and there's this thing in Craig's where there was that much noise and stuff in his. We used to always say, that's the police at the fucking door, Sneddy. And the police were never at the door, but this time I says to Craig, Sneddy, the police are at the door. And he's like, fuck off, Stu. And I'm like, I'm telling you, the police are at the door. Police were at the door. Came in, and Craig's sister had been up the mountain in France and had forgotten her inhaler, and had a massive asthma attack and died. Now she would have been, if I was 17 then, she would have been 16. If I was 16, she would have been, I think she was like a year younger, maybe, I think a year younger. And Carrie and I were really close, we were really good friends, and she was Craig's sister. And the reason I tell you this is because that's the point in Craig and my life, but more so for Craig, obviously, it was where everything changed. Everything changed. Craig went off the rails. There's no better way to say it. We still went, Craig, We waited an extra couple of days till Jean and Kenny came back from their holiday. I mean, I'll never forget them walking into the house and us, you know, it was fucking awful. It was awful. I don't want to make this about me. It's not. This part's not about me. I mean, we were part of that family. The people, like, there was maybe 2 or 3 people that were there all the time. And I think, without sounding pompous, I was there a lot. Whether there was booze or weed or not, I just liked going and hanging out there. It was a nice place to be. It was relaxed, and I loved them. I loved the family, and it was really, really fucking awful to see Kenny and that come home and be told that, you know. So Craig technically had to go through that whole thing twice. But we left a few days later for the 4 or 5 days in Weston Lodge, and I mean, we went a couple of days late, but I think it was the right thing to do, because we got there and we done something. We just had I mean, I won't go into details, but we had a huge blowout. I mean, more than you can imagine. And I think he needed to be away from the house where his sister wasn't anymore. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, that brought us closer than you can imagine. We were friends for life. I'm 42 almost, and Craig was he was the same age. He was born in the same year, but he was born in September, I believe. And then a couple months ago, I mean, like, I've said this before, but Craig and I, we got to a certain age. I met Sarah 21 years ago, and I loved Craig. I love him, but he had a problem with booze. I don't know what that is. And I don't want to sugarcoat it, and that's why I think it's good for what I'm going to tell you in a minute or two. He had a huge problem with booze, and that problem with booze lasted right up until the very end. This is going to sound really weird, but I wish I could tell you that through his own actions he drank himself to death. That would be terrible, but it would be better than what actually happened. Craig was murdered a couple months ago. Now, I want to, but I can't say too much about what happened, because obviously it's the person's been charged, but he's not. I just can't say to you. I'm sure you understand it. It doesn't matter what country you're in, what language you speak. I'm pretty sure how the courts work, you know. So I have to be careful with that. But he was murdered. We know that much, and we know who done it. But like I say, we have to just be. And 2 days ago was Craig's funeral, which I'll show you a little bit of, because I mean, this is I spoke to his family, and again, I don't want to sound pompous, but because of the closeness I have with that family, I put it to them, would it be alright if I filmed his funeral set? Because obviously you're only allowed 20 people in funeral services. I don't know how it is where you are, but in Scotland or Britain, you're only allowed 20 people in the funeral service. In the crematorium and the church, whatever it's going to be, it's 20 people. So what people have started doing is live streaming funerals, which is fucking mad. But I mean, you know what? I got to go to my wee pal's funeral sitting in my living room, and if it wasn't for the live streaming, I wouldn't have been able to say goodbye properly. So it's weird, but it works. You know, it works as best as it can with what's happening. So I spoke to Shireen and his sister Nikki, and I said, like, would it be alright if because like, people could go up to the main road where we live and watch the funeral, you know, the coffin and I'm going to say the body, I don't know why I don't want to say it, but the coffin go past and you stand at the side. I'm sure everybody's done that, but I didn't want to do that. And Shireen didn't want me to do that, Nikki, I think, because I just didn't want to stand with everybody else, you know what I mean? And again, I don't want it to be about me, and it sounds like it is, but it's not. I just wanted it to have a little moment one last time with my pal, you know, and my pal's family. So Shireen stays, if I stay here, Shireen stays here, literally 3-minute walk max, 2-minute walk. So she says, please come to the house, outside obviously, and film some. I know that you do YouTube stuff, and film it, would love for to see it. And I'm like, okay. And that's what I did. I stood on the street with my wife, and Craig was in a pipe band, massive Rangers fan. don't go into any of that. But he was a massive Rangers fan, big pipe fan, and the pipe band he was in came, and they got to say goodbye as well. And yeah, I'm going to show you some of that now. So I guess effectively what I'm showing you here is a funeral. But again, I cannot express enough. Complete family's permission. I'm not going to show you too much. Obviously, I'm not a fucking asshole. I'm going to this video is really just so there is something for posterity that I can look back and hopefully 20 or 30 years time if I'm still alive and say that was the day I say goodbye to my wee pal, wee Sneddy. And you'll see why he was wee Sneddy. He was a very small man. I think something like 5'3" or 5'4" or something. He was a very small man. Hence the name Wee Sneddy. But yeah, so this is me saying goodbye and his family saying goodbye to a father, a son, a brother, an uncle, and a wee pal.
Sorrow and our pain, but perhaps the most important thing today is to honour and celebrate Craig's life. He fought many battles and personal challenges, and let's be honest, life wasn't always easy for him, but it was his life. A life in which he had made for himself, a life in which he had so much more to do. You know that. You know he was a great man, and he was so kind, he was so generous, he was so good-natured. He had plans, he had hopes, he had dreams, he had goals in life, all which have sadly been taken from him. Craig was born Craig Peter Snedden on the 4th of September 1979 to Jean and to Kennyston. Craig was the oldest of 4 children. 3 sisters, Carrie, who is sadly no longer with us, Nikki and Shireen. Craig was also a half-brother to Kenny and his half-sister Lisa, who were all part of the family. Craig was a big brother. And Nikki and Shireen, when I spoke to them, said he took that role so seriously. He always wanted to do his best for his sisters, for the family. You'll get that. Craig was like any other teenage laddie back then. But sadly, his life would change forever. But his younger sister, Carrie, was so close to him back then. She was on an exchange trip to France with the school, and she died overseas. At the time, Craig's parents and Nicky and Shireen were on holiday, and Craig was at home. And he was the one that was informed by the police of his sister's death. Craig, like the whole family, was absolutely devastated. It certainly affected him. And of that, there is no doubt. It affected his life forever. And Craig would simply drink to help him get through those dark and lonely episodes. And we're not here today to judge Craig or anyone else in their life and how they lived their life. No or no. We're here to remember them in the good times, the funny times, and there were many. And over the years, Craig would become a dad to Charlotte, a daughter who he loved very much. The family said when she was born, nobody could breathe on her as a bairn. He was so protective of her. He'd have done anything for her. Craig was now an uncle to Olivia, to Lewis, Joanne, Sophie, Nathan and Jamie Lee. And to them he was Uncle Craig. And he was good with them. And his party piece would be to pull a Kinder Egg through behind their ear. A wee surprise, and they loved her. They loved him, of course, because he was just full of nonsense. That Craig loved Glasgow Rangers. He would go through to watch them on occasions. And he also loved to be part of the flute band. And whilst he never played any of the instruments, he had the important task of being the flag bearer. And he was so proud of that. And today I believe that the flute band played in honour of Craig and as he left the house on the final journey. And that's why it makes it so sad to say that Craig's life was taken away from him on the 17th of January 2021, aged only 41. So suddenly and so unexpected. Craig's family have had to live through this absolute nightmare. And we need to pay respect to them today for the dignified way in which they have gone about this. He was someone you will never, ever forget. And we say, rest in peace, Craig. Rest in peace.
So yeah, that was some of my wee pal Sneddy. I mean, I didn't go up the top of the road, but my mum, Craig was so, even though he had problems with drinking, he was in trouble now and again. He you know, not a bad person, never mugged anybody, never hurt anybody. He wasn't that type of person, but none of us were. Well, some of them were, that's which is why they got fucked off, but we weren't like that, you know. And Craig was at my house a lot as well, and he refused to call my mum Edith. He refused. It wasn't respectful enough. He called her Stuart's mum. Hello, Stuart's mum. It's like, oh, even when he was like 18, 19, Stuart's mum, hi. And it's like, Edith, no. And I'm like, well, I call your mum fucking Jean. And he used to say to him, but she thinks of you as her boy as well. And I'm like, all right. So, but my mum was up there to say goodbye to wee Sneddy, who used to call her Stuart's mum. And she was on the main street that I didn't go to. And I think Shireen told me the family were expecting maybe 30 or 40 people. But my mum had done a rough idea, and she said there was well over 100 and odd people on that main road, which is great. Sneddy would have loved that. Sneddy would have loved that. So yeah, that's me. Again, it's not a happy video, and some people say let's celebrate life and death and blah. No, I don't like that. You could have had the best life in the world. You could be a Nobel Prize winner. You could cure cancer. You could do all this stuff. But somebody's still dead. And it's maybe my mentality, maybe I should change, but I can't get past the grief of death to celebrate the birth of life, if you like. I can't do that. So I can't do just remember the good times, which I will, but I think it's so much worse because that cunt stabbed him to death, or, you know, I do know that he was, you know what, I won't go into that. It doesn't really matter at the moment, but suffices to say that I will do another video when hopefully this fucking guy gets done and it's all, you know. But yeah, I suppose for this precise minute it doesn't matter. All it matters is that he was murdered, and that was my wee pal Sneddy. So I don't think I should, but I want to say sorry in case this has triggered anything or depressed you, or, you know, I mean, death is depressing, you know, so is death like this. But again, I don't like to celebrate the life part, but I'm not an idiot. It's a huge part of life, death, and I completely accept that. But it's just, I do apologise, like I say, if this has triggered anything or made you feel some type of way or whatever. But I'm not doing it for sympathy for me or anything like that. I wanted to do this so it's on record. I've got like I said, this however long it is, 10 minutes or 50 or whatever long it is, of my wee pal saying goodbye to my wee pal. Yeah. So I don't know what else. I don't know how to finish it. I don't want to say what I usually say because that's not what it's about. So I think I'm just going to say, I don't know. Take it easy, Sneddy, rest easy. And yeah, I don't believe in God, so I won't see you soon, but rest easy, and that's it. Peace. Oh, thank you to my wife as well for standing near me and sitting with me and watching me cry like a fucking absolute child. So, and to Craig's family, Shireen, Nikki, everybody, Craig's children, Craig's daughter, and all the, you know, my heart goes out to you. And again, like I said, if you, I know you'll be watching this because you're waiting for it. So, and I've said it to you during the messages we've sent over the last month or two, but if there's anything I can do, anything at all, just give me a shout or come and chap the door. You know where I am. All right? Peace.